Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you. When judgment comes for you. Tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you. 'Cause it's gonna come for you.
Nigga, this for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo, but God's got him. And I'm gonna miss everybody out of rolling flows like I ain't looked at a while. Like I'm playing for dust and they play too deep for beachside. Little legs I got too deep. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand way. You can't go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to
Back on Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results and happenings from Raw on March 30th to Collision on April the 4th, as well as the NXT Stand and Deliver PLE. We open with Raw. Cody Rhodes comes out to get things going. He asks, what do we want to talk about? But Stephanie McMahon comes out and quickly cuts him off. She talks about how she wants to talk about Randy Orton because they are all third-generation people in the wrestling business. Coming up on WrestleMania, and she sees Orton has started to go a little bit crazy and hear the voices in his head once again. This version of Cody can't beat that version of Randy. So far, Cody isn't as good as his father, Dusty Rhodes, of course. Cody says he doesn't know who Orton is because he knows everything Orton is about, or he knows everything about him. The reality is that Orton has done some great things and some things that are so violent that we can't even show them around here anymore. At one point, Cody was having to babysit Randy by making sure he was still breathing when Orton passed out in the car. With all due respect, he isn't his father, but Stephanie isn't her father either. Stephanie then slaps the absolute shit out of Cody for saying that. She starts to walk away and says she's out of here because she cares about Cody because she knows that Cody needs to be more like Randy if he wants to keep the championship. Randy is listening to the voices in his head and someone else on top of that, obviously the person that was on the phone with Randy over the last month or so. Cody says he has 2 words for her, and that is thank you. And he leaves as Stephanie smiles because it seems like she had somewhat gotten through to him. We then go back to Isho Speed. He is in the back and demands to see Danhausen. Says ever since he was cursed last week, he's been having hell. Danhausen comes in and Speed wants the curse to be reversed because, like I said, Speed's week has been terrible. Danhausen will do it for $10 million. I think he even changes it to billion at some point, and the rights to Isho Speed's streaming service. But Speed says he can't do that. Instead, Adam Pearce gives Speed a front row seat and introduces him to LA Knight, who will be the guest commentator for the tag team title match that will happen next. Danhausen doesn't disappear this time, though, because Pearce is staring at him the whole time. The key is that you have to look away, and then he vanishes. We then had that tag team title match, and the Vision actually become the new tag team champions, Austin Theory and Logan Paul, when they defeat the Usos, when Logan Paul knocks Jimmy Uso out with the brass knuckles, and then Theory is able to grab the pinfall, and they become your new world tag team champions. We then go to Isho Speed, Isho Speed had been ringside, like I said earlier. He realizes he's in trouble, but he kind of stays with Logan Paul and Austin Theory to kind of protect him. And then, he wants to stay with them because he knows he kind of fucked up and helped them beat the Usos and LA Knight. So I think we're probably headed towards a 6-man tag here, Speed and the Vision versus Knight and the Usos. Maybe not the most exciting match, but I'd be interested to see what Speed can do in a match, see if he can kind of elevate to the level that Logan Paul has, or if he would be kind of just another celebrity that doesn't take it seriously. We then look back at the end of last week's show with CM Punk getting under Roman Reigns' skin and laughing when Reigns put him to the table. We then have Liv Morgan. She comes out to cut a promo. She gets right to the point, saying that Stephanie Vaquer is done at WrestleMania. Vaquer attacked her family, including Dirty Dom. She doesn't have any family, but Stephanie doesn't have any family of her own. Liv is ready to fight on site, so here is Stephanie to come interrupt her. Vicaire kicks her down, grabs a chair, but Roxanne Perez returns and jumps Vicaire from behind. Oblivion onto the chair leaves Vicaire down, and Liv and Roxanne stand tall. We then look back at Paul Heyman getting attacked by Seth Rollins last week, resulting in Rollins being arrested. Speed tries to explain that he didn't mean to help Division and it was an accident. Paul Heyman comes in and says Speed is in good hands, so the three of them should go to dinner and get out of here. They then disappear. Heyman says the Usos are going to kill Speed. Adam Pearce comes in and says he needs to talk to Heyman, who didn't seem to get Adam Pearce's email from earlier in the day. Heyman then leaves without finding what said message is. We then get the Irresistible Forces. They retain the tag team titles over Lyra Valkyrie and Bayley via DQ when Alexa and Charlotte come in and attack all of them pretty much. They really focus on Nia and Lash, but then the Bellas join and all the teams kind of team up and take out the Irresistible Forces, who are the champions. So this kind of sets up a fatal four-way tag team title match that'll happen at Mania that I believe gets announced later on in the show. We then look back at Obafemi and Brock Lesnar in recent weeks and all the face-offs that they've kind of had. Danhausen then gets to announce that that Saturday night's main event is coming back to to Madison Square Garden on July 18th, just a few short weeks from SummerSlam, I believe. We then get Brock Lesnar. He's got his gloves and his UFC kind of shorts on. He's ready to fight. He comes out with Paul Heyman. Heyman says that he's here to talk about Obafemi, with the fans cheering very loudly for Oba and hyping him up. What Femi needs to learn is that a tick-off Lesnar is a different kind of beast, and various people have taken some beatings over the years when they've messed with him. Lesnar grabs the mic, calls out Oba, but instead it's Adam Pearce with security. Adam Pearce says this isn't happening tonight. Femi then comes out. He wrecks the security. He completely just tosses one in the sky, and he takes a hell of a bump. And then Pearce kind of gets in the way. And Oba takes his time walking around the ring. The fans chant very loudly for Oba at this point. He gets inside for a stare down, but Triple H himself comes out to get between the two of them. Lesnar goes to the floor, grabs the steps, but Lesnar throws them down and leaves instead. And then he grabs the same security guard. I'm pretty sure that Oba had launched into the sky and F5s him on the floor. So this poor security guard got absolutely wrecked by multiple people. I believe Keithy Langston was telling me that this is the guy that he had on his first Take It Easy with Keithy. So check that out, and you can hear from the guy who absolutely got wrecked multiple times on this episode of Raw. So we then go to Finn Balor, talks about how he wasn't happy with some things he did on the Judgment Day. Dominic Mysterio turned on him because Dom is a coward and a villain. He created Dom, and now it's time to destroy him at WrestleMania. We then have Penta retaining the Intercontinental Championship when he defeats Kofi Kingston via pinfall following the Mexican Destroyer. After the match, Penta is asked what he's going to do with the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Penta says it's pain for himself and anyone who dares to come after him because it's going to be a ladder match. So we're just going to it seems like we're just kind of throwing a ladder match together here just to kind of get some more guys on the card, and we'll kind of hear some of the announced people in that match later on tonight, I believe. We then get Paul Heyman. He is discussing a sandwich when Adam Pearce comes in. Pearce asks about Brock Lesnar, who has left the arena. That's fine with Pearce, who asks Heyman if he has still checked the email. Heyman says he hasn't, and there's nothing overly interesting, so he's got something to say in the ring. Here is Heyman to come out to the ring. He mocks the lighting guy because they did like a spotlight thing. Makes fun of the fact that he's from New Jersey. And they did like a spotlight thing, and it didn't really like focus in on Paul at the beginning. He praises the Vision for winning the tag titles earlier. He tries to give something back to the fans, like Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar, but here is Adam Pearce to interrupt. Apparently, the email had said that all charges against Seth Rollins have been dropped, which Heyman seems to lie about knowing in advance. Heyman isn't worried because he's the last manager that's standing from the 80s, and he's the last promoter standing from the 90s. Pierce gets to the second part of his email, and that is Rollins is medically cleared to compete. Rollins then comes from behind with a chair, knocks Heyman down. He goes to load up the stomp, but Gunther, of all people, pops up to choke Rollins out, and Gunther actually put points to the WrestleMania sign. So um, obviously, this wasn't the original plan. We are going to this because of injury and just kind of how it worked out. Now, I don't. Uh, I love Gunther. I love Rollins for the most part. But coming back from an injury and taking on Obafemi, or not Obafemi, coming back from injury and immediately taking on Gunther might not be good for Rollins' health. I mean, I don't think Gunther is intentionally going to hurt him, but he's got a very physical style. So we'll see if Rollins comes away from this not hurting badly, but I could see, unfortunately, that he could go right back out with an injury in this one. Again, Gunther's not going to hurt him on purpose, but he just has a physical style, and obviously Rollins is just coming off a pretty severe shoulder injury. So we'll see what happens. I think it should be a solid match. It is kind of thrown together, but when you have injuries, sometimes you got to do things, and I think this is probably best case scenario in the grand scheme of things. So we'll then go to our next match. Raquel Rodriguez defeats Io Sky via pinfall with the Tejana Bomb after a distraction from Kairi and Asuka. We then get a WrestleMania rundown. Like I said, they announced the members of the ladder match. Ray Phoenix. Not Ray Phoenix. Dragon Lee, Javon Evans, Rusev, and JD McDonough are going to be challenging Penta in the ladder match. So it's currently a 5-way. I've heard that maybe they may add like a AAA representative, and they may add somebody from SmackDown just to kind of spice it up. They may add Ray Phoenix. He's kind of a name I've seen out there. It could be Phoenix and Vikingo are the two other names I've heard. So, but for now, it's Dragon Lee, Javon, Rusev, and JD. They had quote unquote qualifying matches on main event this week, but I think that was just a way to cover up the fact that these guys just kind of got thrown into a Mania match with no real story. They've also made Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio official, as well as the 4-way women's tag team title match that I mentioned earlier. We've also learned that John Cena is hosting WrestleMania, so he's going to be our Mania host. Obviously, he is retired, but now he will be here in a hosting capacity. Adam Pearce also makes Seth Rollins versus Gunther official for WrestleMania as well. So really shaping up the card. Some of those matches are interesting and could be good. I mean, I think that ladder match will be great. But obviously it is, again, kind of thrown together. But it's got some really good guys, really good high flyers. So I think it'll entertain for sure, despite the fact that it might not have much of a story going into it. We then get our main event segment again. Roman Reigns, for about the third or fourth week in a row, comes out. He soaks in the chants for him and as well as some chants for CM Punk. He obviously tells the fans to acknowledge him. But after that, CM Punk comes out pretty ticked off, marches to the ring, starts the fight right away. Reigns gets the better of things by knocking Punk to the outside, where Adam Pearce and security are here again. Roman loads up the power bomb, but Punk is able to get out and tries the GTS. He wiggles out, and he actually ends up spearing poor Petey Williams. Old Maple Leaf Muscle gets destroyed by a spear here. But then he walks into a GTS, gets hit with it this time. Punk teases leaving, but then comes back to powerbomb Reigns through the table, the announce table, to kind of get some revenge from last week. Punk then sits down next to him and laughs before mocking the Roman Reigns chants that he hears coming from the crowd, obviously. So, but as far as best match, again, I know I say this a lot, but this was a lot more promo, a lot more talking and stuff like that. So not much in the way of matches, but I thought the tag title match was solid. But this wasn't the best, quote unquote, in ring show that they've ever had. So Again, this is more building to WrestleMania, building some new matches, some big matches, announcing new matches, obviously. But yeah, match wise, the tag title match would get best match for me. We will then go to NXT. We open with OTM and Mike Santana from TNA defeating Dark State, represented by Saquon Sugars, Osiris Griffin, and Dion Lennox when OTM hits the In the Mud on Sugars. We then have Miles Bourne. He talks about how far he has come in the last year, thanks to Ethan Page for giving him the edge that made him champion. He's ready to retain the North American title and wants the best of Johnny Wrestling to show up on Stand and Deliver. Johnny Gargano comes in and says Johnny Takeover is still somewhere inside of him. If that comes out, he'll eat Miles alive. It isn't personal between them, but that title is personal to Johnny Gargano. For the first time in 2 months, he won't lie down and die, but because he will stand and deliver. We then have Ren Sinclair hyping up Kendall Gray for her title match coming up on Saturday. We then get the finals of the NXT Tag Team Title Tournament. Los Americanos defeat Birthright of Uriah Connors and Stax when Bravo Americano hits a flying headbutt with the loaded plate in his mask on Connors. And like I said, this makes the Americanos the NXT Tag Team Title #1 contender. So they'll take on the Vanity Project come Stand and Deliver. We then go to Dark State. They're mad about their loss, and Dion Lennox is going to get them back on track at Stand and Deliver. He doesn't exactly say how or why, but we will see what he has planned when we get there. We then have Jada Parker. She defeats Kalani Jordan via pinfall, following a Hypnotic and Deja Vu. We then get the Vanity Project. They offer to escort Blake Monroe to her locker room, but she is ready for her close-up, and she says she'll get back with them later. We then have Robert Stone. He comes out to host a four-way contract signing for the NXT title. Tony D'Angelo, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, and NXT champion Joe Hendry are out to participate. Ethan Page and Ricky Saints insist that the other go first, but Hendry takes the contract and signs first instead. Hendry can't wait to see which one stabs the other in the back first because they both want the title so badly. They're passionate about the title, but he's passionate about NXT and being here in New York City tonight. He's ready to leave the world, lead the world in believing. And Saints says Hendry should forget about this friendship. Saints is going to set the world right by becoming the two-time champion, and he signs the contract. Page talks about selling himself short by focusing on being the greatest North American champion, so he should get his title back and signs as well. Tony D'Angelo speaks for the first time by shouting enough and talks about how he's done these sit-downs before. Saints and Page have both gotten chances and failed. As for Hendry, D'Angelo has no issues with him, but he wants the title on his shoulder. D'Angelo is the only one who isn't an outsider. Obviously, he's been in NXT for 5-6 years at this point, at least 5, I would say. But obviously, Joe's come from TNA, and both Saints and Page have come from AEW. So he's kind of the only non-outsider in this match. He says he promises to run over all of them like a freight train. With all that out of the way, D'Angelo tells Stone to get out of the ring, and that's when the fight starts. Saints and Hendry kind of are both put through the table by Page and D'Angelo, leaving them both to brawl until security comes out and breaks it up. We then have Keanu Carver. He defeats Jasper Troy via pinfall, following a pounce and running power slam. After the match, Booker T is pissed off, and Carver insists that Josh Briggs raise his hand. Briggs actually does raise his hand, but then he absolutely creams him with a hard clothesline. We then go to Sean Legacy and Elio LaFleur. They are both banged up with injuries. Sean Legacy has a knee brace, and Elio has his arm in a sling. I believe he had suffered a shoulder injury of some sort. But then Hank and Tank want to get rid of Birthright. They say LaFleur says he has some bad news. He has some torn tendons, and he will be out of action for 6 months, meaning the Speed title will be vacated. LaFleur wants Eli Knight who ends up changing his name before the Stand and Deliver show. He's going to be EK Prosper going forward. But he wants him to enter the tournament and become the new speed champion. And EK is good with this. Renzi Claire then comes in to offer condolences, but Shiloh Hill comes in, giggles a bit, and says he has an idea to get them all in the ring with Birthright on Stand and Deliver. We then have Tatum Paxley come out to put a promo. She loves getting to pull Blake Monroe by the hair last week, but she also gave Monroe an ultimatum. Monroe then comes out with the North American Championship that isn't hers and says she never lost the title in the first place, so it really does belong to her. She can't just give it back, but Paxley is willing to give Monroe her biggest spotlight. They can have their title match at Stand and Deliver, and Blake agrees. She's not giving the title back yet, though, because Paxley is nothing like her. Paxley isn't happy, and they start to fight, though Monroe eventually escapes with the title after all. So we'll see if Paxley can get it back at Stand and Deliver. Robert Stone then announces a 10-person tag for the Stand and Deliver kickoff show that I just mentioned. It's Hank and Tank, Shiloh, Ren, and I want to say one other person, and they're taking on the entire Birthright stable. So that ends up happening on the pre-show. But Keanu Carver comes in and yells just because he's a psycho. So Stone makes a triple threat for next week between Briggs, Jasper Troy, and Carver. And then we cut to kind of behind where they were meeting, and Kalani Jordan has laid out Jada Parker and is beating her down. We then get a video on the rise and fall of the relationship between Sol Ruka and Zarya. They were friends, but only Ruka had success as a single star. People started putting thoughts of doubt in Zarya's head, but Ruka kept trying to help her. Zarya finally turned on her after one more loss and blamed Ruka for everything. Now it's time for them to meet in the middle of the ring and see who's really the better half of Zaruka. We then have Fatal Influence. They are waiting to see who will be challenging JC Jane for her title at Stand and Deliver. And Izzy Dame actually comes by and says she's interested in a title match at some point in the near future. We then get that number one contender match, but it ends in a double finish between Lola Vice and Kendall Gray. Kendall gets a pinfall, but she also taps to the submission that Lola has her in as the 3 is getting counted. So it kind of ends in a double finish, double, whatever you want to call it. Draw, I guess is a good way to put it. We don't really get an answer before the end of the show. Shawn Michaels kind of comes out to mediate between the referees, but we don't get a decision before we go off the air. That match was very good. Kendall Gray is going to be a star in the next few years. I think she'll be NXT Women's Champion before it's all said and done, but she is going to be an absolute star on the main roster eventually. She's got the amateur stuff down. She's got the character down. She's a believable baby face and all that. So I think she's going to be really good. I think Meltzer even gave this match like 4.5 stars. So it's not just me pumping them up. I think somebody that, you can have your opinions on Meltzer one way or the other, I guess, but a lot of people value his opinion. So if he thinks the match was that good, I think it's probably not that far off. So, but yeah, the main event would be the best match for me. I don't think it was quite 4.5 stars, but I do think it was very good. And the draw doesn't really hurt it in this situation. I think they both went out there, showed some good energy, and really, gave it to each other throughout the match. So we'll then go to Dynamite from there. Tony Schiavone comes out to get things going. It's supposed to start with the Kenny Omega and MJF contract signing for their world title match. But before that can get started, Pyro went off a couple of times. And nobody really came out at first. And Tony kind of kept apologizing for it. But then eventually Judas fires up and Chris Jericho is back in AEW. He kind of walks around and soaks in the fans singing his song. He plays to the crowd a bit. He kind of hypes them up. And then eventually he just says, Winnipeg, AEW, I'm home. And then he kind of just walks away. As soon as we cut from that, though, we go to the back. And Will Ospreay is beating the crap out of Jon Moxley until the rest of the Death Riders come in and save Mox. We then do get our contract signing. MJF and Kenny Omega come out. Omega signs without saying anything, and then cuts MJ off from whatever he was going to say. Omega knows MJF rehearsed this stuff in front of his bathroom mirror, and MJF brags about the ratings. These people aren't here to hear MJF talk, though, because they're here to see the best wrestle. Omega was less than 24 hours from dying, and someone needs to chop down MJF for thinking that he's a wrestling god. MJF laughs off the idea that this is Omega at his best, and while he could talk about how Omega is a stiff breeze away from his career ending, just like Kota Ibushi, no, instead let's talk about what Omega doesn't want to talk about, why he wants the world title so badly. Apparently his diverticulitis is getting worse, and his career and life are a ticking time bomb. MJF says Omega would be better off dead at Dynasty, which makes Omega turn the table over. Mike Bailey then comes in, kind of holds MJF back, or holds Omega back, and he kind of lectures MJF a little bit and threatens to kick his head off if he comes at Omega. Omega says he's missing 24 inches of intestine, but he'd rather miss that than miss his testicles like MJF. MJF kind of gets pissed about this and says he'll face Speedball later tonight and prove that he is a great champion as well as an American hero. So just a little, just to build up that match a little bit more. I think it'll be a great match, but Speedball will get a title shot against MJF later on in the show. We then have Kenny Omega stay out for a match. Him, Brody King, and Jack Perry to defeat the Demand when Omega hits the V trigger in One Winged Angel on Ricochet. Willow Nightingale then pops up in the back, wants to defend her TBS title on Collision, and offers up an open challenge. Adam Copeland and Christian Cage then arrive with chairs and want to take out FTR, including everyone that gets in their way. Cage seems to think this includes Renee Paquette, who is interviewing them, but Cope cuts him off and says, "Really, Renee? We don't need to attack Renee, but anybody else that gets in our way, we're going to take out." So I thought that was a pretty funny spot by Christian Cage. After the commercial, though, Cope and Cage then find FTR's locker room, but it's actually Roppongi Vice's locker room, so it was a diversion. FTR isn't going to be on the show tonight, and it's going to be on Collision tomorrow. So Cope and Cage chair down Roppongi Vice for being in their way. So I thought that was a pretty funny spot. We then get Will Ospreay. He defeats Pac via pinfall when he stacks him up with a roll-up. After the match, Pac goes after Ospreay again, but gets cut off by a hidden blade. The rest of the Death Riders come out with Jon Moxley wrapping a chair around Ospreay's neck. Mox just talks about, don't make this personal, blah, blah, blah. Because if you make it personal, I will cripple you once again. And he doesn't really want to attack him 6-1, but there's 6 of them and only one of him. He says, next time, use your head or you might lose it permanently. This isn't personal for Moxley, and Ospreay should keep it that way. And then the Death Riders leave without hurting him anymore. They kind of beat him down, wrap the chair around his neck, and then don't really do much from there. But obviously the Death Riders are trying to stay as face as they can, but I think they're kind of better off as a heel stable. But I think they suck either way, so it's not really my place to say that, I guess. We then have the Brawling Birds and Mina Shirakawa. They defeat the Triangle of Madness when Hayter hits Haterade on Julia Hart. We then recap Tommaso Ciampa's recent issues with the Bang Bang Gang, and he will have a match with Juice Robinson on Collision. We then have Darby Allin. He wants a world title match for anyone to beat MJF, so he'll challenge whoever it is. Allin calls him out, but gets the Don Callis family instead. Don Callis gets right to the point. If Allin can beat a member of the family, he gets a title shot. That member would be Andrade El Idolo at Dynasty, but for now, the team comes in to go after Allin. Jack Perry and Brody King then come back out to cut the Don Callis family off and then stare. They just kind of stare Allin down. Kenny Omega then comes out and says something to Allen about giving him a title shot whenever he becomes champion. So just kind of keeping Darby's not in the world title picture right now because he's not getting the match at Dynasty, but I'd imagine he'd probably somewhat be involved in maybe a double or nothing kind of title match. It might not be a singles between him and MJF, but I think it'll be something at or around that. We then get our main event. MJF defeats Mike Bailey via pinfall following a heat seeker. He had actually hit a tombstone pile driver on the hardest part of the ring before that as well. MJF goes after Speedball after the match some more, but Omega ends up making the save, and then Omega helps Bailey up to end the show. Another really highly rated match by Meltzer throughout the week. Ospreay and Pac, I believe, also got 4.5 stars. But that, I'm not just agreeing with Meltzer to agree with Meltzer, but it was a very strong match. I thought MJF and Speedball was good, but I do think I won't say there wasn't a lot of time left at the end of the show, but I think it was obviously less than would be usually. So I think Ospreay and Pac got a little more time to kind of tell their story and stuff like that. So I would go with that one. We actually had Collision on Thursday night this week. I think they were just trying to avoid being up against Stand and Deliver. Not that I don't think they would have done probably the same ratings they usually do, but I think they just obviously wanted NXT to have their night. So Collision is on Thursday, so I'll go to that next. Mox defeats Anthony Bowens via pinfall, following a Death Rider to open the show. After the match, Will Ospreay runs in to hit the hidden blade on Moxley. Ospreay then grabs the chair, but the Death Riders run in to get Moxley out. Ospreay says Moxley usually has Claudio Castagnoli do his dirty work, but last year at Forbidden Door, Moxley did it himself. They'll be facing off at Dynasty, but Ospreay wants the Continental title on the line, so that means that no one is allowed at ringside, and he gets 20 minutes to do all the damage he can to Mox. Mox doesn't seem to agree to it or not, but Tony Khan pipes in to Tony Schiavone, and Tony announces that that is official. So not only will they face each other in the match, but it will be for the Continental title, which means they have a 20-minute time limit, but also no interference can happen. We then have the Don Callis family. They're ready for their tag match, even though Kyle Fletcher is out injured currently. Okada says he has a replacement that will be better than Konosuke Takeshita, so we don't need to worry about his selection skills. We then have the Divine Dominion. They defeat Kristara and Ava Lawless when they hit the Divine Intervention on Kristara. John Moxley, then with the Death Riders in the back, isn't surprised by Will Ospreay's actions, and Ospreay should expect no mercy. Ospreay is going to beat himself by putting him in the situation, already kind of being hurt, coming back from injury so quickly, and Moxley's going to put him right back out. We then have the Hurt Syndicate. They pop back up. They say they are back, and they really could use another member, so they're going to be scouting people going forward. But all that matters is they are back in business, and that business is to hurt people. We then get Willow Nightingale. Her open challenge is answered by Hikaru Shida, who has not wrestled in like almost 2 years at this point, I believe, is what they kept saying. Willow defeated her via pinfall with a surprise backslide pin out of nowhere. After the match, Shida pulls out the kendo stick, teases that she might turn a little bit heel and hit Willow with it, but she ends up dropping it, and they are cool in the long run. When they get FTR, they defeat Mo Jabari and London Lightning when they hit the Shatter Machine on Jabari. After the match, Cage and Cope show up with chairs in their hands and take out security and get inside for a brawl. Cope hits Cash Wheeler with the Impaler, and Cage goes to do the concerto, but Stokely breaks it up, and one of the security guards ends up getting concertoed instead. So a bad week to be a security guard in wrestling, because they absolutely got dominated throughout this week. We then have the Brawling Birds and Mina Shirakawa. They are happy with their win on Dynamite, but Jamie Hayter wants Tekla and the Women's World title at Dynasty. because she notices that her partner, Alex Windsor, has the NJPW Strong Women's Championship. So she wants a little singles gold of her own. And Mina Shirikawa wants her to deliver quite the beating to Tekla. So she supports Jamie's pursuit of the women's world title. We then get Tommaso Ciampa. He defeats Juice Robinson via pinfall, following a pair of running knees. This one also got a big star rating from Meltzer. So I think that ends up that actually doesn't end up being my match of the night, but I believe it also got a pretty good rating as well. I may be misremembering that, but I know there was a match with Ciampa in it, and I'm pretty sure it was that one. Isaiah Cassidy then says he's forced to change due to Mark Quinn being injured. So half a private party is out injured now. And Isaiah Cassidy wants an opportunity to do something while Mark is out. We then get Darby Allin. He's ready to face Andrade at Dynasty when Brody King and Jack Perry come in. King and Perry talk about their history with Darby, and they agree to team with him to face the Don Callis family, whatever three members they want to throw out there on Dynamite. And Jack Perry talks about how Darby Allin and them had previously set him on fire. So they just talk about that for a little bit. So we'll see how they team up to go together on Dynamite. We then have the Don Callis family represented by Andrade and Mark Davis. They defeat the Rascals when Andrade hits the DM on Wentz for the win. After the match, the family leaves, and here are more teams to jump the Rascals. Myron Reed then comes in for the save and hits a big running flip dive. Kazuchika Okada was in for the beatdown to prove that he's a better friend to Kyle Fletcher than Konosuke Takeshita. So Okada obviously just trying to continue to dig at Takeshita. I wish they would kind of just have their match, at some point. Because I think it's about time that they face off. Double or Nothing probably seems like the right place to do that, but we'll see when they eventually do have it. And then we get Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Mystico, and Kevin Knight. They defeat Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, Clark Connors, and David Finlay when Kevin Knight hits the UFO splash on Yuta. So big 8-man tag. Like I always say, AEW does these 8 and 6-man tags really, really well. This one was no exception. I thought it was fantastic. A lot of action, a lot of hard-hitting action throughout. And that would be my match of the night. I think Mystico is one of those guys. He's a good addition to the AEW roster. He's a guy who's huge over in Mexico right now. One of the biggest stars in the world. At the current date from Mexico, obviously, but he's been doing some really good stuff on AEW. Obviously, he's the trios champions with Jet Speed, so we'll see what he continues to do there. But he seems to be a guy that's pretty well thought of at this point in time. We'll go to Impact from there. Mike Santana comes out to get things going. He was in the ring with a tough man named Steve Macklin at Sacrifice, and Santana dropped him maybe a little earlier than he intended to. As Santana was growing up, his father told him to be a man of his word. He's lived his life like that, which is why he left Sacrifice as world champion. Now it's time for Rebellion and Eddie Edwards with the match officially ready to go. He's told Edwards time after time that he lives his life with his back against the wall. And at Rebellion, Edwards is getting the best in the world out of him when that match occurs. Eddie Edwards and Cedric Alexander then come out with obviously Edwards promising at Rebellion that TNA will be run by the system. Santana is ready to fight right now, but Alexander says not so fast. Alexander says he's going to win the X Division title at Rebellion as well, which brings out Leon Slater. He says it won't be easy to win the title, but Alexander says the system is winning all the gold. Order 4 then comes out, and Mustafa Ali says he's going to be winning the international title at Rebellion for Trey Miguel. This, of course, brings out Trey Miguel, who wants Ali to look at him when he's talking. Miguel wants Ali to be a man and fight so he can get dropped. Ali kind of throws a jab in there, like what happened to Jada Stone at Sacrifice, which she got wrecked by Ali there, of course. Santana then says, we need to stop doing all this talking. The heels kind of point out that they're outnumbered. So Moose comes out, wrecks some of Order 4, kind of takes out the good hands or the great hands. Santino comes out and makes a 8-man tag. So then we get Eddie Edwards, Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, and Agent Zero. They defeat Santana, Moose, Slater, and Miguel when Edwards is able to take advantage of a distraction and hit the Boston Knee Party on Santana. So he once again pins Santana, heading towards their world title match at Rebellion. We then get Daria Ray. She yells at Santino Marella about how he can never seem to follow structure. Does he know who attacked Nick Nemeth at Sacrifice? She was late because she was at a board meeting about Morella's future because he is on thin ice. She also made a main event for tonight, which is Ariana Grace versus Xia Brookside, with the winner facing Lei Yingli at Rebellion for the Knockouts Championship. She then tells him to get out of her office, and Santino points out that it's his office, but she doesn't care, tells him to get out anyways. We then look back at Ricky Souza being announced at Sacrifice. After the signing, some wrestlers welcomed into the company. Eric Young then interrupts and says that he's the gatekeeper around here, and now Souza's hard work begins. Souza doesn't seem all too impressed by what EY says, but obviously I think that'll probably be his first program. We then get the Hardys. They're rather banged up, but from Sacrifice, Matt says Sacrifice was a revelation because the Righteous betrayed them. They could have been a great team together, but Dutch attacked him and rammed his head into the wall over and over, leaving him bleeding. Jeff Hardy says that wasn't a sacrifice because it was a mistake. Time for apocalyptic consequences, but the Righteous didn't come out to interrupt. Dutch says the Hardys were the offering, but Matt offers to give them a beating right now. The Righteous talk about how they had money and gave it away to stay in the game. The Hardys still want to fight, which Vincent thinks is a great idea, but not tonight. They'll do it next week, with Dutch saying it has to be Hardy style, meaning extreme. So Jeff says, let's make it a tables match. So seemingly a tables match between the Righteous and the Hardys coming next week. We then have Victoria Crawford. She is coming to the ring with Tessa Blanchard, but gets distracted and cut off and led away by the White Rabbit. We then get Ariana Grace and Stax. They interrupt Mike Santana and mock him for losing earlier. Santana is ready to fight, but Ariana Grace tells him to take notes on the main event to see how our real champion performs. We then get Tessa Blanchard. She defeats Jody Threat via submission in a bunkhouse brawl when she is able to choke out Jody Threat with her belt. We then get Ryan Nemeth. He wants to know who attacked his brother and is looking for revenge. BDE comes in with Ryan accusing him of attacking Nick. That's not the case, but BDE is willing to fight again. Frankie Kazarian then comes in and thinks BDE did it too. So here's Elijah to kind of even things up and stand up for BDE. We then have Tessa Blanchard in the back. She also gets distracted by the White Rabbit and follows it. We get a to be continued note after that. We then get AJ Francis defeating the Hometown Man via pinfall, following the down payment. After the match, AJ Francis reveals that he was the man who attacked Nick Nemeth. 2 years ago, he had debuted and beat Joe Hendry, just like he's beaten all of the heroes. Nick Nemeth likes to steal the show, but he really likes to just steal opportunities. He never wanted to play for the Saints, but here is Ryan Nemeth to scare AJ off. AJ Francis challenges Ryan for Rebellion because he's the best big man in the business, and that business is money, money, money. We then get Xia Brookside. She is ready for her match tonight, and Lei Yingli comes in with a video from Xia's dad wishing her luck tonight. She says it's her birthright to become champion. Wink, wink. So we kind of a nudge at the group from NXT. She was wrong tonight, as Ariana Grace does defeat her via pinfall. She kind of hits a TKO where her face ends up going into Ariana's knee. So that helps Ariana retain the title. After the match, Santana comes in to kind of break up a post-match beatdown. He hits the spin the block on Stax, but Eddie Edwards comes in through the crowd, or comes in the crowd to call out Santana. Edwards says Santana is all about his ego, but Santana says that's tough talk from someone on the other side of the guardrail. That's a no, because Edwards has already beaten him tonight, and the next time he'll do it in Cleveland, and he will come champion. They're both ready for rebellion, with Santana threatening to use his size 12 shoe to stick it where the sun don't shine on Old Eddie. And then to close the show, we get Tessa Blanchard. She's randomly wearing different clothes than what we saw earlier. She is in some kind of big house, and James Mitchell, of all people, pops up behind her and welcomes her to the undead realm. So we'll see what more madness Rosemary has in store with Father James coming in here in the future. But as far as best match for Impact, I thought the 8-man tag to start things out was really well done. So if you're going to check out anything from this show, check that out. We'll go from there to SmackDown. We open with a recap of the Stephanie McMahon, Cody Rhodes face-off from Raw. And she basically warns him that he needs to wake up before Randy Orton knocks him into next week at WrestleMania. We then get Orton. He comes out there in St. Louis, so he gets quite the reception. He talks about how this is his hometown, and he's not doing it for everyone here. He's doing it for the 6 people right here on the front row, talking about his family. At WrestleMania, Orton is winning his 15th world title and bringing it back to St. Louis, while Cody Rhodes will leave empty-handed. Cody gave him permission to listen to the voices in his head, and now Cody has no idea what is waiting for him. Orton saw him at Madison Square Garden on Monday with Stephanie McMahon, and Stephanie was absolutely right about what this is going to mean. Cody then comes in for a fight and beats Orton down in the corner, but randomly Pat McAfee comes in and kicks Cody low. Yes, randomly Pat McAfee. The beatdown is on with Randy beating on Orton with a chair, while McAfee continues to insult the St. Louis sports team, kind of insults how all of them suck and stuff like that. McAfee talks about how he said he felt WWE passed him by, and Orton called him to talk about how things should be. The reality is that McAfee is sick of modern wrestling and watching 5 guys have Iron Man matches while Randy Orton is available. There are tickets still available for WrestleMania while Randy Orton is on the card, which I thought was more of a burial of like how, I feel like that kind of makes him feel like less of a star. I don't think he really meant the way it came off, but it makes it sound like Orton's like not big enough star to sell out a WrestleMania. So I don't think that really worked how he wanted it to be. He talks about how we're coming off the lowest rated SmackDown in a long time. Cody is leading the company in the wrong direction, and at WrestleMania, Orton is going to save it. The beating continues with McAfee confirming that he's been the one on the phone, and he and Randy leave as Nick Aldis and some security come out to kind of break things up. And then we see them going through gorilla position as Cody Rhodes is being helped up and helped out. We then come back from commercial break, and Orton and McAfee leave in McAfee's truck. So I'm hoping there's another layer to this, because if that's all that it's going to be, and like the caller and the person on the other side of the phone and all that kind of stuff, if it's just McAfee, I mean, I've like anybody else, I've heard that this is a TKO thing. They want somebody with some star power in Randy's corner to kind of give it a little extra edge. I don't think this is where you go. I think there probably were some other good options that you could have gone with, but we'll see if anything gets added from here. But this seems like a pretty lame way to add to it. I think it's TKO and all those guys continuing to dip their hands in the bucket where it doesn't belong. They can own the company, they can be a partner of the company, they can be all those things, but they need to kind of keep their eyes on the corporate side and stop trying to mess up the wrestling side of things, because I think that's part of why WWE's been so lame lately, and it's kind of gone down in quality over the last little while. I think it's become too much like, oh, let's make the corporate sponsors happy. Let's make the, the power structure of the company that owns us and the UFC happy, instead of actually just putting on a good product. So um, Cody cuts a promo later that kind of probably gets those feelings out a little bit in a way. But I see some real tension starting to grow between maybe like Triple H's side of things and obviously the the people at TKO. So we'll see what kind of happens, but it seems to be headed in a direction that's not going to be the best for both of them. So, but we'll see how it works out. Rhea then defeats Michin via submission with the Prism Trap. After the match, rest of Michin's crew, including Jade Cargill and BFAB, come in to beat down Rhea until Io Sky comes in and makes the save. They still had the advantage 3-2, but Io is crazy enough to get them to all run away, I guess. We then get Matt Cardona in the back. He's getting his wrist looked at in medical when Aleister Black and Zelina come in. Aleister suggests that Cardona deserved what he got, and a match is set between the two later tonight. Solo Sikoa says Uncle Howdy wants to fight for the Lantern tonight, but Sikoa isn't letting the Lantern out of his sight. So who is stepping up? Tama Tonga asks why they're fighting for the Lantern when it's so much more of a problem than it seems to be a solution. Sikoa tells him to go face Howdy and don't screw this up. We then get Rhea Ripley. She is glad to have Io Sky in her corner because she needed backup, and they are bloody unstoppable when they're together. We then get Uncle Howdy. He defeats Tama Tonga via pinfall following the Sister Abigail after Solo kind of distracted him accidentally. After the match, Sikoa and Tonga argue over the Lantern, and Tonga actually kind of sets it on the apron, which allows Howdy to get it back, which obviously pisses off Solo, but we'll get more on that later. Kit Wilson is then complaining about his bad luck to Miz, who insists there is no curse. They run into R-Truth, who is insisting how the water in the new hot tub and how hot the water needs to be in the hot tub in the new Judgment Day clubhouse. Wilson and Miz don't like him because he keeps getting lucky despite never taking anything seriously. They want him to take one thing seriously, and then Truth kind of cuts him off and accepts their challenge for the tag team titles. Granted, they didn't ask, but they'll take it. And then Miz and Kit both quote Miz's little inspirational phrase, master, inspire, and zone in, and you'll get tag team title shots seemingly. We then get a little cut-in promo for Jacob Fatu. He is ready for Drew McIntyre. Yes, he has a criminal past, but he's ready to show how violent he can be at WrestleMania. We then get Sami Zayn. He talks to Nick Aldis and is ready for his U.S. title celebration. But as he starts to head out, hear Trick Williams' song go off. So he's obviously headed out first. Trick Williams then is coming out. He's with the rapper Lil Yachty. Trick talks about how he brought out his own star power because he's ready to take out that ginger at WrestleMania. He doesn't want any ginger ale, ginger tea, or ginger snaps. For now, he wants Sami Zayn's pyro for his celebration. They go off, but they go off, but Sami Zayn also comes out at the same time. Zayn thinks that Trick is getting a bit too excited and that he's never been about over the top reactions at WrestleMania. He is going to humble Trick Williams' ass. Sami Zayn says, I think Ginger Snap is, or Yachty says, I think Ginger Snap is pretty upset. Trick then says he's the reason that Zayn won the U.S. title in the first place, which brings out Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes says that he and Trick have a long history, and they'll deal with that later. Sami Zayn did something last week that Carmelo didn't like, and Carmelo isn't letting Zayn get into the end zone after Carmelo did all that work. The fans here want Melo instead of Sammy, and he wants his rematch. Sammy says he thinks of the world of Carmelo, but the WrestleMania match is set. They'll just have to do it after Mania, which causes Trick to say, oh, come on, Ginger Ale. Sami Zayn then says he thinks he had Hayes beat last week, but we'll never know because Trick got involved. Reality is Sami has called out a bunch of people for taking advantage of things. Carmelo tells Zayn to do the right thing, so Sami eventually agrees to the rematch tonight, works for Carmelo, who eventually leaves. Trick then says Ginger Snap could have said that a long time ago, so Sami clotheslines Trick to the floor. We then get Solo Sikoa. He yells at Tama Tonga about losing the lantern. Tonga wants the team to get back to getting all the titles instead of focusing on the Wyatt family and the lantern. Sikoa agrees and says they should finish the Wyatts and then get back to business. Tonga agrees, and they seem to be good on the other side. We then get Aleister Black. He defeats Matt Cardona via pinfall following a black mass. We then get Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. They don't think Charlotte and Alexa are as real of friends as they are, and they haven't been through the issues that Bayley and Lyra have been in and come through on the other side. R-Truth talks about Johnny Gargano is talking to Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, who are ready to get back to normal at Stand and Deliver. Two of them leave, and Damian Priest comes in to ask why R-Truth gave a random team their first title defense. R-Truth admits that it's because they are cursed, and he thinks that Asuka did it. Priest points out that Asuka's on Raw, but R-Truth says it's that little girl that has the face paint running around. And Priest points out that he means Danhausen. R-Truth thinks that it should be an easy title defense, and Priest is like, okay, we'll go out there and prove that we're the champs. We then get Drew McIntyre's side of the Jacob Fatu rivalry. He gets kind of a cut-in promo as well. Talks about how he had everything ready for him, but then Jacob Fatu ruined it all. Fatu is a filthy convict, and he's only here because of his family. You can't outrun your past, and next week McIntyre is showing everyone who Fatu really is. Charlotte and Alexa then defeat Lyra and Bayley when Alexa hits a running blockbuster on Lyra. After the match, the Irresistible Forces run in to beat down both teams. We then get Miz and Kit Wilson. They are ready for their match, and Miz insists there is no curse. Danhausen pops up with a jar of teeth and says he will be ringside with them tonight. Kit calls him a spooky little goblin and toxic. Danhausen says he can come to the ring with them and uncurse them, which has Kit interested. Miz isn't having any of Danhausen's bullshit, though, and kind of yells at him, and then Danhausen disappears when he looks away. We then get the tag title match. The champs retain, defeating Kit Wilson and The Miz when The Miz has Truth beat, but the ref had been cursed by Danhausen earlier in the match, and he cramps up while counting, allowing Priest to get the tag in and hit the South of Heaven on The Miz and get the win and retain the titles. After the match, Cody comes out pissed off. He just grabs the first person that's in his way, which happens to be Kit Wilson, lays him out, and yells about how he got dressed up to find out who Randy Orton has been talking to on the phone, and it was just Pat McAfee, which would be like if he says, which would be like if the third man in the NWO was Disco Inferno instead of Hulk Hogan. McAfee is a stoner, grifter, and a Logan Paul without muscles, and he has a receipt and could kiss Cody Rhodes' ass. If you don't like that, fire him. It sure worked out for you the last time. He needs to be a bad guy to beat Orton, but he doesn't know if he can do that anymore. Cody talks about every record WWE has been setting with him on top. And yes, he was wrestling Roman Reigns and John Cena, but they were also wrestling him as well. He says now the voices are talking in his head, but you don't want to hear what they're saying. So according to news, he was kind of sent out at this point to kind of shoot on the problems that they're having with like the corporate side of things. This was kind of directed at TKO and all of the power struggle at the top that's been causing a lot of problems with the bookings lately. Obviously throwing McAfee in here for no ungodly reason. So we'll see where it continues to go from there. We'll see if there will be continued issues with all this kind of stuff going forward. But obviously there's been some real bad blood that got out over this last week. So we'll see if it leads to anything else. We then look back at Reigns and CM Punk on Raw and the kind of their confrontation that they had. We then get a classic WrestleMania moment between Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 38 in Dallas. And then we go to our main event where Sami Zayn defeats Carmelo Hayes via pinfall following a haluva kick. Carmelo had been hurt and was like selling an injury, and the ref was helping him up. And that's when Sami hits the haluva kick. So continuing to kind of do some heelish things and take advantage of some spots. So Sami continued to kind of go to a dark place and go some places to obviously show that he's desperate to be on WrestleMania and be a champion. And then after the match, Lil Yachty gets in to promise that Trick will win at WrestleMania. Trick then jumps Zayn and lays him out with a trick shot, and Lil Yachty and Trick Williams pose to end the show. I thought that was the best match for sure. Again, a lot of backstage segments and some short matches to kind of get some people over, but obviously just continued hype towards WrestleMania with a few matches thrown in there. But Sami and Carmelo delivered like they usually do. So, and then we will wrap up the week with Stand and Deliver. It was on Saturday. We open with the NXT Women's title. Lola Vice becomes your new champion. She defeats Jacy Jayne and Kendall Gray when she hits the spinning back fist on Jacy. We then go. We get a hype promo for Callie Armstrong from Evolve. She is officially coming to NXT. She seemingly has graduated, quote unquote, from Evolve up to NXT. So we'll see her pretty soon. The Vanity Project of Ricky Smokes and Brad Baylor then defeat Los Americanos when Jackson Drake gets a cheap shot on Bravo, and then Baylor and Smokes hit a double stomp reverse DDT combo. We then have Shiloh Hill and Tatum Paxley. They're happy with their recent successes. Sexy Red comes in, and Paxley is excited, but Ricky Saints comes in and isn't impressed with Shiloh or Tatum and says that Sexy Red should come party with him, who's a star, rather than these two goofs later on. Sol Ruca then defeats Zarya via pinfall. She hits a middle rope X Factor and then follows it with a Soul Snatcher to get the win. We then have Lola Vice. She's in the back. She's happy with her win. And there is going to be a big celebration on NXT this week. And Sexy Red comes in and they do a good little bit of booty shaking and dancing. So not a bad little segment right there. We then get Miles Bourne. He defeats Johnny Gargano via pinfall. He does like a slingshot Bourne again and then comes in the ring and hits another one to retain his championship. They seem to acknowledge each other and kind of, give each other the nod that they have respect. But after Johnny leaves, Dion Lennox comes in with a chair and chairs Bourne down, which is obviously what Dion meant by making a statement at this show. So we'll see if Dion and Miles have an interaction on Tuesday. We then have Sol Ruca. She says that was the hardest match of her career yet, and now she is coming for the gold. Izzy Dame then comes in and says she's coming for it as well, and says not so fast, and me and you can face each other to see who really wants to be champion next. We then have Tatum Paxley. She retains her North American Women's Championship via pinfall over Blake Monroe when she hits Cemetery Drive. Saquon Sugars doesn't seem so happy that Dion Lennox is getting another singles title shot, but Dion seems to calm things down, and Lennox has a plan for all of them, not just himself. We then have video for Josh Briggs versus Keanu Carver and Jasper Troy in a triple threat on Tuesday. So we'll see what all they can get into on Tuesday in a big hoss fight. Tatum Paxley then celebrates with her friends. The Vanity Project come in and don't get their whole vibe, but then didn't walk over to Blake Monroe, and she seems interested in hanging out with them and ask them to bring her hairbrush. So we'll see if they continue to kind of be a group with Blake, or if Blake is just kind of stringing them along. And then we get our NXT title match, Fatal 4-Way. Tony D'Angelo finally becomes NXT champion, defeating Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, and Ethan Page. He had speared Page and Saints through the announce table, and then he comes in and hits the big spine buster on Joe Hendry, and he is the new NXT champion. So happy to see a kind of 2.0 original come in and finally get his due and win the championship. He's had shots before, but obviously he came back with a vengeance. He wanted to take out Dark State, and his second goal was kind of to take out or to become champion. So it was good to see him finally accomplish that. I could see a couple of these guys getting called up after WrestleMania, especially Ethan Page. I think he's kind of accomplished everything he can, and he could be a good addition to the mid card on the main roster. Hendry could easily come up and do the same. I think Saints probably could use a little bit more seasoning down in NXT, or honestly, they could just use his star power. He could be kind of a first opponent for D'Angelo as well. But I could see some of these guys, coming up after WrestleMania. But Tony D up top the men's division. So I don't know that I see his reign going particularly super long or anything like that, but I think again, he's been in NXT for a long time, so I hope and think that he'll be on the main roster before too long as well. But he will get a championship reign here, obviously, so we'll see what that kind of leads to. But as far as best match, I thought the women really brought it on this one. I thought Blake and Tatum was really good. I thought Soul and Zarya was very good. But I would go with the opener. Like I said, Kendall Gray's really, really good. I think Lola's really good as well. And JC's been a great champion and a great heel up into that point. But I think they just really put together a really good triple threat. It had a lot of action, a lot of hard hitting and stuff like that. So happy for Lola to become champion. I would have been okay if Kendall won as well. But like I said, I think her day is coming. So we'll see when maybe eventually she'll be champion. But again, I think she has a very bright future in front of her. So, but another great week of wrestling. We obviously had Stand and Deliver this weekend. We'll have Dynasty next weekend, and then the following weekend after that will be WrestleMania. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks to get there. Again, we're getting close to number 100 here. It'll be actually the week after Mania for episode number 100. So we'll see what kind of special stuff we can get to when we get there. But thanks for joining me as always. And we will see you next week.
Crowd is here, about to blow.